I do this every time I teach. You got the house on the left, it's brick, and you have the house on the right where I painted the brick. Raise your hand if you like the brick better than the paint. Thank you. How many people? Raise your hand. It's the same thing. I literally get less than 5% of the people raise their hand. What you have to learn when you're flipping houses or if you're doing rentals or whatever you're trying to do is this. Write this down. Appeal to the masses. It doesn't matter what you like. It matters what most people like. Okay? Because if I'm trying to sell this house, I think 3, maybe 4 people raise their hand. So I have 4 people that like the red house, and I have 90 people that like the tan house. So which way should I go? Tan. Right. Okay. Now, which one do I like? Pink. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I like. It's irrelevant to what I'm trying to do. That's what you have to kind of understand. Okay? Just try to figure out what most people want and do that. What not to do in a rehab? Are there things not to do in a rehab? Well, I kind of touched on it a little bit. A lot of people go shopping. I haven't been in a Lowe's to shop for materials for a rehab in 10 years. And I'm rehabbing the amount of houses I am. How am I doing that? Well, I spent a lot of time on the front end, and it took about a week to do this. I went to Lowe's, and I walked up and down the aisle. I wrote down everything they had, what the SKU number was, what the price was, what the description was, of anything and everything I thought I might ever buy. It took a week. Then I went to my computer and I put it on an Excel spreadsheet. And I haven't been to Lowe's since. All I do is sit at my desk and I go down what I have. I want 1 of these, 10 of these, 14 of these, 5 of these. I send it to Lowe's, they deliver it the next day. It takes about 30 minutes to do a Lowe's order on a complete full, if I'm doing like a $50,000 renovation, it takes me 30 minutes. It used to take me about 4 hours. Drive to Lowe's, walk up and down the aisles, writing the SKU numbers of the things that I needed, go to contractor sales, read the SKU numbers to the lady, check the order, go through it with her again, and then say, yes, I'll pay for it, and then drive back to wherever my office. It usually took about 4 hours to do that. It was horrible. It was a painful thing to do. So, if you do stuff like this on the front end, you're going to make your job a lot easier. Now, if you're only going to flip 1 house a year, maybe not that important. Okay? But if you want to scale it, make it a business, treat it like a business. How to find and manage subcontractors. Anybody have a problem with that? Any contractor issues out there? All contractors are great. None of them are ever bad. They never run off with your money, and they do everything on time. Right. Okay, that's not true, is it? Okay, so you got to figure out how to manage the contractors. Check for their license and insurance. If you're going to hire an actual contractor, they will have a state license, and they will have a number, and you can check if it's valid. They should have general liability. They should have workers' comp. Okay, you need to check all this stuff, especially if you're going to run a business, because technically it is illegal for a business to hire a non-licensed person. Okay, you can get a lot of trouble for that. I'm not going to go into the story, but I will in the 2-day event about how I know that to be so true. And it almost cost me $91,000. Okay, so I learned my lesson. Matter of fact, that was the day I became legal. Okay, everything I do is by the book because of that day. I didn't have to pay $91,000, but I almost did. I just learned a very valuable lesson. Another thing with contractors, getting 3 bids. You guys are taught that, right? Everybody knows you want to get a roof, get 3 bids, right? You want to paint your house, get 3 bids. Okay, so that's from the consumer side. I'm going to give it to you from the contractor side because I think if you understand a contractor and what we go through, it might help you deal with contractors a little bit better. So you call, let's say you wanted to rehab a house, a full rehab, and you call 3 contractors to come out there. Well, to do a bid, a real bid, I'm going to spend probably an hour and a half at the house. I'm going to spend another hour and a half at my office on the computer, putting together everything that I got, all that information I got, and I'll send you a bid. Okay? And then you tell me, thank you for the bid, but we're going to hire somebody else. Okay. What does that mean? Why did you hire somebody else? They were cheaper. That's the only reason. Okay? It's always the money. So, you have another house to rehab. Are you going to call me again? Probably, because this is what most people do. And it's not always with the rehab. It could be with painting. It could be with sheetrock, or it could be with roofing. It could be anything, or it could be the whole thing. You're going to call me, and you're going to call the same, probably, because most people are creatures of habit, they're going to call the exact same 3 contractors. And I'm going to get that phone call and be like, oh, I don't even want to go out there. I didn't get the first one. What makes me think I'm going to get the second one? I'm going to go out there and probably do a half-ass bid for you. I'm not going to put a lot of time into it because I already in my head don't think I'm going to get it. All right? And then 99% of the time you don't get the second one. Guess who gets the second one? The same person that got the first one. Okay? Then you're going to call me on your 3rd house. And I'm going to tell you what? That's a nice way to put it. Yeah. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to go out 3 times. Okay? It's not going to happen. Now, the guy that did the work for you, or girl, okay, the contractor that did the work for you on your next house is too busy. Can't get to your house. Now who are you going to call? You going to call me? You going to call the other contractor that spent their time and didn't get anything out of it as well? So you see how we look at it? Now how are you going to get a good, honest bid from either one of us when you just sort of sent us on this wild goose chase? Now, I'm not saying it was the wrong thing. I'm just letting you see it from our side. All right? What if, because cheap is not always better. All right? I know we always think that in the beginning. And you never know it doesn't work until you try something else. You always think, man, it took them a month longer than it should have. They were a pain in the butt. They never showed up. But you know what? They hit my budget. Why don't you use the second highest guy and just see what happens? You might go, wow, I spent an extra $1,500. They finished a month earlier. The quality was great. I did a good job. Now you have 2 contractors in your back pocket. Okay? You did lose the 3rd one, though. You probably lost the 3rd one. But he was the highest price out of all 3 anyway, and you were never going to give him the job. Okay? So if you're going to get 3 bids, just think about what you're putting them through when you ask them to do it. And if you call them over and over, I mean, I know people that I've talked to that own businesses are like, oh, yeah, I've looked at 20 jobs for this person. I've never gotten one. I'm like, you're still going out there? Why? That's crazy. When I do a bid, it's very detailed, okay? It's going to say you're going to get 2 fans, and this is how much each fan costs and how much it costs to install those 2 fans. You're going to get 5 lights. Here's how much those 5 lights cost. Here's what it costs to put those 5 lights in. You're going to get 2 faucets, and it's very detailed. So the guy comes to me and says, I need it to be $45,000. I said, no problem. The guy, let's sit down and let's go through the bid and let's find out what items can we remove from the bid to get down to $45,000. I noticed that you have granite going in your house. If we take and we do Formica, I can probably save you $1,500. I noticed that you have LVP going everywhere, even the bedrooms. If we do carpet in the bedrooms, I could probably save you another $1,000. So we're halfway there. That's how you can get a discount. I can get you to the price, but not at my expense. Okay? So when you ask somebody, I need a discount, be a little bit more methodical about it and say, how do we get to this discount that's kind of a win-win for everybody? But just telling somebody, hey, will you take $5,000 less? That's just like walking down the street and me just going, here's $5,000, hope you enjoy it. I mean, what's the difference, right? If she asked me for $5,000 off, what's the difference of me doing that? It's the same thing, right? So you got to come up with how are you going to do this. Don't just ask people to knock money off. And let me just tell you as a warning, if they say okay, I would literally be like, never mind, I don't want to use you, because you were going to charge me so much money that you can take $5,000 off and still be okay with it? How much you overcharging me? My bid is so detailed that you see exactly the dollars that I'm making, exactly to the penny, what I'm making and what I'm charging you. So if somebody's more general and just gives you like a paragraph and says, I'm going to rehab your house and do everything we discussed, $50,000. Well, how much if we take this off? 300? There's contractors out there like that. That'll just throw numbers out there. Okay, just be careful with that. So if you're asking for discounts, try to figure out how can you actually get a discount. If you work with your contractors or your subs and stuff like this way, you'll build a much better relationship with them, trust me. Do not hire anybody to do work on anything without a contract. Okay, it's not a matter of if you're going to get in trouble, it's a win. It's going to happen, all right? So you want to make sure to always have them sign a contractor's agreement. And a good little tip to put in the contract, ask for a $50 to $100 a day penalty if not finished on time. Isn't that the biggest complaint we have with people we hire? They don't finish on time or they disappear.
Yes.
Right? And usually it's twofold. It's because you gave them too much money and now they need somebody else to give them a deposit or a bigger check because you've already gave them about as much as they can get. So if you put this clause in right here and they say they won't sign it, don't use them. Because most of the time you ask them, how long is it going to take you to do the job? A week. Great. I'm going to put this clause in here that says I'm going to charge you $50 to $100 days, $50 to $100 for every day after a week. And they go, no, I'm not signing that. But why? You're the one that said it was. I didn't tell you to do it in a week. You said you would do it in a week. Well, what if it rains? Okay, well, we'll put in here that, anything like rain or, unforeseen circumstances isn't going to count. But you not showing up to the job will. No, I'm not signing that. Okay, well, thanks for bidding my job. Have a nice day. And go find somebody else. Okay? This is a very powerful thing to have in there. Now, let's say you hired somebody to do a 6-week job and they finished in 6 weeks in 1 day. Do you take your $50 to $100? No, it's not what it's for. It's not for you to make money. It's to keep them from disappearing. That's really all it is. Okay? It's dangling the cheese a little bit. If they disappear for 2 weeks, then yes, you talk to them about, I'm going to have to take some money out. So don't be afraid to put stuff like that in. You guys got to remember, who's the boss? You are. I see a lot of contractor and client relationships where the contractor seems like they act like they're the boss. You have to give me money. You have to do this. No, I don't have to do anything. You work for me. We have a contract. All right? And I'm going to really get into the contract with you, how to keep you guys out of hot water, because I see a lot of people, when you get into hot water, it's because you didn't have the right thing in the contract.